Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
Sorry for the confusion. I had been told that we were using the town administrator's Zoom account, so that she was going to have to host it and open it, but apparently this was just on the regular town account. So all's well now, but I'm sorry for the delay.
Okay.
And I see Mary's here. Mary, I just said that there was some confusion. I was under the impression that this meeting was scheduled on the town Zoom account. I mean, sorry, the town administrator's, Becky Torres's Zoom account, so that she was going to have to host it, but apparently that was not the case. So here we are. All right. So I am going to call the Shutesbury Conservation Commission meeting for July 7th, and we have present for the recording Commissioners Miriam DeFont, Mary David, and Robin Harrington.
Yep.
And I will take minutes since we don't have our land use clerk today. And we have one agenda item, which is to review some pre-construction planning with Matt Stickowitz, who is the project engineer for niche engineering for the Sawmill River culvert replacement project. So Matt is here, I believe, on phone call-in. Is that right? You're on mute, Matt.
Sorry, I'm doing this from my phone, so I apologize. Yep, I'm sorry on video. This is on my vacation. Hadn't planned to bring laptop with me.
Yes. Well, we hadn't planned this either. We didn't plan this either, so you'll have to excuse the fact that we're having to meet late in the day. I'm having a problem with my computer. If you can give me 1 second, just trying to shut something off. Just give me a second. I'm having, oh, here we go. All right, now it should work better. All right, too many things open makes my computer misbehave. So Matt, we only have one agenda item, but there were a couple of questions that I think we would like to just iron out with you since construction's beginning, and you haven't been to a meeting with us for a while. There are some conditions in the permit, which I just want to clarify with you so that we're all on the same page. One of the requirements is for the contractor to contact the commission if there's any unanticipated issues. But I would like to not have you contact the Conservation Commission office. What the permit says is call the Concom office or the town administrator. It's fine to contact the town administrator, but I would ask that the contractor contact me directly, and you can give them my cell phone.
Okay, will do. That's no problem.
Is that okay with the commission?
Yes.
Our land use clerk is only in twice a week, and so that's just not a very timely way for us to get notified.
Agreed. Yep.
And that includes, if there's any changes in water releases, one of the conditions is a 12-hour notice.
Okay. Yep.
We need to schedule a pre-construction site visit. When were folks hoping to do that?
So from the applicant's perspective, we basically anytime in the next 2 weeks should be doable. I still have to confirm with the contractor. Obviously, we would want him there. It sounds like, depending on what the outcome of this meeting is, work could potentially start not next week, but the week after. So potentially later next week, when the contractor is able to put erosion controls in place, would be ideal. I think Miriam had suggested a Thursday or Friday, or Wednesday or Thursday potentially, which likely works for us.
Yeah, my availability is limited next week. I'm out of town part of the week. And we have two commissioners who are out of town next week as well. So I think I suggested Wednesday or Thursday afternoon at 3:30 as possibilities. That way I know Beth could go. Would that work for you, Mary?
Let me look. You're talking on the 12th?
Yep.
I could, yeah, I could probably do, that's the day our public meeting, right?
It is. So
But-
I would say it, either the 12th or the 13th, but we need to know as soon as possible.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree. I will let the contractor know. Again, it's going to depend on the outcome of this meeting, I think, which is going to dictate when the contractor actually starts. And he, to avoid mobilization and rescheduling, he's going to set the erosion controls kind of based on when his start time begins. So I imagine this is going to be a quick series of emails and text messages following this to confirm a start date. And as soon as we know that, he'll give us a date that he's going to have erosion controls in place. And if that's, before Wednesday of next week, then I think, yeah, Wednesday or Thursday of next week would work. So I will hopefully within the next couple hours have a set time.
Right. The other thing is that we need to approve the trees. That's part, I know, Danya, we're going to get to trees in a sec. But the order of conditions also says that trees that are slated for removal will be reviewed by us. So
Yep.
I would expect
And
that me to do that.
Yep, they've already marked out the trees that they're going to need to remove because they're either in the work zone or because of crane movements. In order to put the culvert in place. So I believe they've marked them with white paint. But again, they did that with anticipation that we would have a meeting and they would be able to point out which ones would be getting removed.
So our Don Wakaluk, who is our tree warden, is here and he had his hand raised. Don, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to let you guys all know that the crane work for the tree removal on the corner there of the lake is scheduled to begin on Monday. I'm trying to work around the schedule for the culvert work, but that crane work is sort of a 2 to 3 day operation. I don't know what hours that contractor from Rhode Island is going to be operating, but you guys should be aware that that's also going to be going on right where you're talking about.
I believe so,
larger
yeah.
tree.
Becky had mentioned that there is some power line clearing and all sorts of other work that's being done. So we've had that all kind of in like I've mentioned in my emails. There's a lot of people coordinating on this to make sure things go smoothly. So I believe that was one of the things that we had been aware of.
Okay, I see Mary has her hand raised and then
So you're going to be doing crane and tree work, but the actual closing of the road isn't going to happen till the 12th, but you're going to start the crane and the trees on Monday?
No,
that what I just heard?
that is separate. That is separate from this project. I believe that is something that
It's
Don
National
could probably. Yeah, I believe the power line, the power company is removing trees for utility work, which is most likely exempt from any conservation, permitting work. So you may not have seen that actually come through, but yeah, I believe that's what's going on.
Steve, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I don't know how to say this except for just saying it, that there's a new tree warden that was appointed as of July 1st. And that's me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know that. Oh,
Really?
And Tim is the assistant.
Okay.
He would have been most likely the tree warden, but he's retiring in a little over 2 months.
Okay, well, I'll leave you that to you, but thanks for letting us know, Steve. And we really appreciated having good communication with the tree warden. So you're welcome to come to our meetings, and we look forward to talking with you more about all this. Okay. So let's move on because we need to address what we need to address today. So, Matt, just briefly, would you just share with the commission what you're asking for, why we're here tonight?
Of course, yeah. So essentially, there is a condition in the order of conditions, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. Like I had mentioned, I wasn't really prepared to have the meeting, but the condition puts a time of year restriction, meaning a time frame in which work can occur on this project between August and September. That condition applies to work in the wetland resource areas in water work, but it also applies to work in the buffer zone. And due to basically the proximity of a culvert here over the water, the entire project is in the buffer zone. So although a good amount of the work is in the adjacent upland resource areas, not in the wetlands, but in the upland areas, that's the roadway work, some of the tree removal, removing the guardrail and resetting the guardrail and repaving. Technically, all of that work falls within the time of year restrictions that were set in that condition. And the issue is that the time of year restrictions are only for 2 months. And essentially, it's going to take 2 months to do the in-water work, like the in-water portion where we're actually excavating the stream and removing the old culvert and putting the new culvert back. So it would just be impossible to do the entirety of the work, all of the roadway work, everything within that 2-month time frame. So essentially what we're asking is for the commission to work with us to come up with a cooperative solution as to whether the upland resource area work, which is still technically in the buffer, but not in the wetlands, if that work could commence prior to the time of year restrictions and potentially beyond the time of year restrictions. And that might be, to pave the roadway once everything is complete. Like I said, we're anticipating about 7 to 8 weeks of about 6 to 7 weeks of in-water work, which would take up the basically 2 months of time of year restriction. And the contractor just needs a couple weeks before that so they can prep to begin their in-water work the moment that time of year restriction starts, and then make sure that they have enough time to finish before it ends. So I guess we're not really asking to amend the order of conditions because it's basically such a unimpactful change. As far as we can tell, the reason that the buffer zone was included in that condition was, it doesn't seem to be related to any performance standards of the wetlands, the Wetlands Protection Act. It doesn't seem to have any connection to bylaws. It seems it was made, as a response to, when they originally were asked, when the work would be performed. And I think we said, we're trying to do it in the September to August timeframe when that's a low water flow. And that's really all that. So allowing the work in the adjacent upland resource areas, we don't feel would have any impact on, the performance standards or the town bylaws. It doesn't have any negative impact to the wetland impact. There's no additional work being done. There's no adverse effects. So because this change, this work being performed out of the time of year restrictions doesn't appear to have any real impact, we were hoping that the commission may be flexible on that condition and allow that work to be performed without coming to ultimately culminating in what would be an enforcement order. Because that's essentially what we want to avoid. Getting the contractor out there to start doing the work and then being shut down would be incredibly costly to basically everyone involved. So we're just bringing it to your attention now, trying to get that resolved before the work happens.
And just
hopefully-
So what are the dates that you're suggesting?
Right now, we were originally planning, again, it was going to be July, I want to say somewhere around the 12th was the original start date to do some of the roadway work, some of the installation for the bypass. Again, all work in the upland resource areas, no touching the water, in order so that the in-water work could begin August 1st. So it was mid-July, I want to say July 12th is on the schedule for some initial prep work. August 1st is in-water work start. Finish that by the end of September, and I think potentially have the road paved by end of September. What we're asking for now, I think, because, you know, this has kind of pushed things a little bit. I think July 19th was the new start date. So it would essentially be upland resource work beginning July 19th, in-water work beginning August 1st, or very close to August 1st, all of in-water work completed by the end of September. And then we're also asking potentially to extend the buffer zone work after the time of year restrictions, for as long as the commission is willing to allow that, because again, we just don't want to run into an issue where we're not able to get pavement because of rain or whatever in place, and then run out of time there.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
Because as you know, we've had a very, very wet year.
Yes.
And so, you know, hoping that things will be very manageable and everything will go on schedule. If, for example, work is held up because there's heavy storms or whatever, what is your plan coming back to us? How would you go about that? If it turns out that you cannot keep the in-water work within that 12-week period or that 9-week period?
If we can't do that, then again, we would come to you, and I would assume leave it up to the commission. Again, from my perspective, the time of year restrictions weren't really related to any performance standards or bylaws or, you know, adjacent property owner requests. It seemed to only be, you know, set based on, you know, an initial conversation we had. So seeing as it isn't really related to any, you know, WPA requirements, I would hope that, you know, again, we could solve it in sort of this approach. But again, it's the commission's ultimately responsible here. So if they're if they would like us to come for a hearing, we could certainly, you know, we would avoid that, but we could if we needed to.
I think the original time of year restrictions, if I'm not mistaken, were probably incorporated because Army Corps had time of year restrictions in their regulations, but we're not gonna go back and kind of
Sure.
figure that out. But obviously in-water work does have an impact on resource areas and wildlife. And so, you know, it is significant. And
Right.
that's why time of year restrictions are in the permit, is because the commission found that this work is significant. So
Agreed. It would be definitely more impactful than doing the upland resource areas outside of the time of year restrictions. So that's why we're not requesting that. But if
Yeah.
that did become the case, we would come back to the commission. If it was the commission's wish to
So-
hold a hearing to revise that order, then that would be the case. But
So
it's
I'm
just
happy. Okay, let me just say something. I think we want to work with you, and we don't want to hold up this project. So I think we want to find a solution that works, because
Mhm.
there's a lot riding on this project. It's a big project, and nobody wants to see any unanticipated problems. I just want to say that, you know, we've been in good faith kind of reaching out to you for months, saying we were concerned about some of the wording in the permit. And my preference would have been that the town had come to us with an amended order of conditions request, so that we could revise the permit in a way that allowed maximum flexibility, and we didn't have to make decisions when the emergencies come up, but prefer to not have things being driven by an emergency. So with that said, you know, I think that it makes sense to me personally that we should modify this as a minor change, because we wouldn't ordinarily add a time of year restriction for buffer zone. We approve buffer zone projects all the time with no time of year requirements. So I agree with you completely that that is not a significant issue, significant to the interest.
So, and I agree. I just, you know, I'm a little concerned about coming with this emergency permit request now, when the project's been going on for 2 years. So my only request after this would be, just like with the order of conditions for going in and looking at all of the other things, that we be given appropriate notice. It's really hard to get people together to approve things with no real notice.
agreed. Yeah, I couldn't agree. I'm the chair of my own commission, and I'm right there with you. I do agree. And yeah, from the town's perspective, it's just incredibly costly a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of other things going on behind the scenes. So it's different. We were just anticipating being able to do things without needing those changes. So I certainly appreciate your willingness to hold an impromptu meeting like this. And
You know, I just want to reflect that you and I had a conversation, I believe, maybe in the beginning of May, in which you shared that part of the issue was that the town really hadn't factored in the cost of extra permitting that would be involved, extra expense for consultants to come to public hearings and such, and also the concern about having to notify natural heritage, as was required if you were going to be amending the order of conditions. I mean, you know, it's my understanding that the town did not want to have to file with a MISA filing. I would just say that, you know, want to remind the town that they are responsible for any regulatory requirements reporting to any other state agencies that have jurisdiction over this project. So
understood. And
fine.
we did reach out to MIPA. They did not have jurisdiction at, you know, during the time the permit was initially received, and I believe they did kind of review the order of conditions and didn't have any comments on it with respect to needing you know, an amendment.
What they said was that if you were going to amend the order of conditions, that they would do a review.
Exactly,
So,
exactly,
you know,
yeah. And so
there's a
that's was
excuse me, there is a question of whether they might feel this as incremental permit changes that are being done. I leave that to them to decide whether that's important or not. It's not our jurisdiction, but I just want to remind you that, you know, that's if they were to decide at some point that they had some role in any of this, let's say for what reasons I can't even predict, because I'm not them, we're not them. I just
Right.
want to, you understand that is we don't want to see, again, we kind of wish all these issues had been resolved months ago so that everything could go without any question.
understood. Yep. And no, we've been, you know, cooperative with every agency and filed with every, you know, Army Corps. And again, MIPA was not required when we filed the initial permit, and I believe they were made aware when they did become, you know, over the jurisdiction of this area. And their initial response was that they did not need to review the project as it was. And I agree with you. You know, if we did have to revise it, they would review any revisions that were made to it. But at this point, we're hoping to avoid that.
Okay. The other
So
thing,
the other question that I have, just as a question, is, you know, as we go through this project, to make sure that you have appropriate people for who you need to notify for whatever. Like, that's the first I heard that we have a new tree warden, but also Walter Tibbetts isn't the fire person now, so you need to have a correct list of who to call if you have issues. And I didn't see who you were going to call if you had a problem. The lake is not supposed to be lowered, but would there be any circumstance that would happen, and who would you notify?
That would be, I believe that's forbidden in the order of conditions, expressly forbidden. So that would not, we wouldn't be able to do that without, you know, Concom, you know, coordination and cooperation. So I do not anticipate that. I think that's
I
not going
would
to be an option.
say that I would say that if a circumstance arose where the lake needs to be lowered because of an emergency circumstance around all of this, and we were asked to submit an emergency, you know, to issue an emergency certification, we would require MIPA filing. And MIPA has just recently written to the town about 2 other projects at the lake where MIPA filing didn't happen, and they ordered no further work at that site until the MIPA filing happened. So I would just be cautious and careful about that, and mindful that you know, that could be an issue if we have to look at that. I hope we don't have to.
Understood, yeah.
One thing I noticed, you know, I was looking through the dewatering plan, and since you're here, I'm going to just ask you, the dewatering plan is kind of modeled after 8 cubic feet per second flow with a backup for 16 cubic
Correct,
feet.
yep.
And the plans say that if there's 20 cubic feet per second or more flow, it will overtop the cofferdams. And it's all modeled on a 2-year storm. And I would been looking at the stream stats for the Swift River, which is the analog that we use for modeling flow. And 3 days ago, it was at 60 cubic feet per second. It is assumed that the inflow to Lake Wyola is half of that. So that would be 30 cubic feet per second. So I am a little concerned that there's been, the dam is overtopping right now. I don't know how much is being released. But we've had a very wet summer.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And we've been keeping our eyes on that. And yeah, I agree with you. It'd be somewhere around 30 inflow. But dams do a lot of crazy things to hydraulic models. And I mean, that was kind of our basis there. We know that, you know, they slow down flow in high periods and they increase flow at low periods. So we were kind of banking on that backup of the dam kind of controlling things right beneath our right upstream of our project. So as of right now, the contractor has been out to the site. He's had his eye on things. He's been, you know, like I said, they did their initial survey. They marked out some trees. So if he had any concerns, you know, we will certainly be in touch with him and communicating with him over the next couple of weeks. So
yes, and we would like to be kept apprised of that. So that, again, so that we, you know, just so we have an understanding and there isn't a last minute request that we're not prepared for because we haven't been kept in the loop. It would be better just to keep us informed so that, you know, we understand what's going on and we'll do what we can. If an emergency comes about, we'll try to be, you know, we don't want, we understand that this work needs to happen.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's these projects are, yeah, definitely they never go as expected. So I understand that there's a lot of things that can change. So we will keep everyone up to date with everything that occurs. And,
you know, just to remind the contractor that, you know, we may be stopping by to inspect from time to time as well, but there may be.
Absolutely. Yep.
Come and look at what's going on.
That is,
all right.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I am going to make a motion that we issue a letter to the applicant authorizing the removal of the time of year restriction for buffer zone work only, and including the requirement that they notify the chair of the commission in the case of any unforeseen circumstances, which is a change from the existing permit.
I'll second that.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington.
Aye.
Okay, I think that covers it. Is that, were we good? Oh, Matt, I had one more question.
course.
What got resolved about the plan and the property boundaries?
I can't answer that to the full extent, other than I believe it was resolved that our plans were correct. There was an issue originally, but our plans are correct. Our surveyor looked into it a bunch of times. It seems like they went out and marked it, and they fall right on where the property line is.
Mary, just so you know, this is about the survey for the Zaffarhua property. Because the original site plan showed that the town owned the area on that side of the dam, and then the Zaffarhua's got a survey which suggested that they owned it.
I believe, yeah, there was some reconciliation there. They sent their survey to our surveyor, and they had a conversation, and whatever happened, I believe it was reconciled, and the property lines that were shown on our plans that we used were correct. They marked it out in the field and they matched.
Jive with what you know, Mary. Mary's on the dam safety.
No, that isn't correct. The property lines, if you have to do any work on that side, that you're going to be on that private property.
I don't believe
their line goes
so,
right up to the edge. So
yep. I don't believe, there's any work shown on that property, which is why it kind of, yeah, was an issue. I'm surprised. But again, this isn't something that I've, I'd have to go back through my emails and see. I know we didn't have to revise the plans, and I know our surveyor looked at it multiple times and he was confident with what he had. So,
Again, it's just an FYI that boundary is there and it's private property. If for some reason, you can't store equipment there, you can't store stuff there, that is private property.
So.
Understood. Yeah, I'll no, I appreciate that. I'll look through the plans and make sure the contractor is aware of if there is a difference between our property line and what's shown.
Matt, do you have any confirmation from the Zafrahuas, the land, the abutter about this?
I'll have to go through again. It's something my surveyor or our surveyor looked at, and I was kind of copied on some emails, but I was letting he's the expert, so I was letting him handle that. So I again don't have the emails in front of me. I can't go back and look at them right now. But this is I appreciate the FYI. We will look and I'll see how. I know there was a resolution to it. I will find out what that was.
So I think we would like to know, because if we
Yeah,
go
of course.
site visit, we want to know whose property we're on and that we have the consent of the landowner. So if you could give us some confirmation or explanation of the status of that, I would appreciate that. Spencer's been
Okay.
on Chloe, and I see, Steve, you have your hand raised. Maybe you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to say that the Stanley tree work is already done on Locks Pond because they're into Wendell now. And the trees that were being mentioned by Dawn are the takedowns with the crane are on the corner between Farah and Locks Pond on Lakeview.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So, yeah, I think it would be helpful for us just to know, since we're permitting the work and it's based on a site plan. And if there's a question about the accuracy of the site plan, I think we'd want to make a note of that.
Agreed. Yeah, no, thank you for the heads up. I will follow up before the site visit. It'll probably be early next week. And again, yeah, I'm surprised we didn't have to change the plans, or we didn't change the plans. So
The reason.
I think
The reason why we're talking about it is that there was a committee formed in the town, and Mary was on it, to review policies for the public accessing the dam. And there was extensive discussion, I think, about where the town property boundary is, and that people were trespassing on the Zafrahuas property, which they posted in order to access the dam. So that is where this all came about.
Sure.
Steve, you have your hand raised. Nope, no comment. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I think we're done. I don't think we have anything left. But thanks, and we will wait to hear from you about confirming the site visit.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's, coming together to do this and resolve the issue. We're happy to move forward. So again, thank you very much. This is helpful, and we look forward to getting started.
I will write a
motion to adjourn.
Wait. I will write a letter and send it off to the applicants. And yes,
Okay.
motion. Go ahead, Mary.
Motion to adjourn then.
Okay. And second,
Second.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Defon, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a
Have a
nice
good
weekend.
afternoon and good weekend. Thank you.